In today's video, come with me as I spend 4 days hiking, wandering, and driving around the Delaware Water Gap National Recreational Area, visiting historic sites, looking at and talking about history and changes over the years. Let's start the day off early by getting an overview of the water gap by hiking up the Pennsylvania side into Mount Mushu. It was very early. There was barely any sun. You could still actually see the moon in this video. The views were kind of okay. Nice rocky terrain. Not too rough. There was very few people out here.
I've already been here for a half an hour.
Literally 6 a.m. when I did this hike. I wanted to make the best out of this day. We have so much ground to cover today. As you continue up the mountain, you get like hints of the view that you're about to see. And this wonderful little creek that had no water in it, unfortunately, but still a really cool spot to maybe sit down on if it was a hot day. I would say for me to climb to this little initial outlook peak, which provided pretty much the best view, it was probably about a 40 or 50 minute hike up the mountain, although I was taking it pretty easy because it's pretty early. But it was, this is definitely basically like the best view of the morning, definitely. If you only came up here for this view, you should turn around right now. However, we're not just here for the view, and there's another half a mountain to climb. You can climb further up, and you have to duck under all these cut-through hedges, and there's a lot of rocky uphill terrain that if you take this particular trail, there's two ways. This is definitely the more rocky scenic route. There's a few more like smaller views that you can see, which were relatively impressive if you haven't been over impressed by the first one. But one of the things that goes all the way up here is there's an old foundation of a old fire tower that used to be up here years back. It's worth climbing up to if you're already halfway there. And of course there is a new communications tower nearby, which, while not particularly interesting, I like these stickers that I find all over the trails that make absolutely no sense. But they're pretty cool. Slightly past this tower, there's another view where you can get a view kind of heading back into Jersey, where you can see like the aqueduct and some other stuff in the mountains. This actually is a really cool view. I think it's very underappreciated. From here, it's a lot of downhill. All right, so we did all the interesting things on this trail, and I didn't want to take Cotts Pond Road back because it would take like 3 hours. So I'm backtracking. So it's probably going to take me till, I would say, at least 9:30 to get through all this. And yeah, that's where we're at right now. After that, you can jump back on the trail you originally took and see the pond when it's actually daylight out. I don't think anybody uses this chair. I like this rock. From here, it's a pretty brief ride back into Jersey, and this time we're actually going to go down Old Mine Road, and we're going to drive to the old red farmhouses. I might have recognized this a few years back. I'll show you guys some video or something. I don't know what it is of the of what this looked like in 2019. The last time I was out here, you could actually walk through this building. It was a little bit sketch, but it wasn't like this. We'll try to step foot in this one before it collapses too. A lot of the buildings out here are like just basically living on borrowed time. They don't have enough money to knock them down, and they don't have enough money to fix them. So, you know, you probably shouldn't really go in any of these buildings. There's structural members of this building that are literally snapped inside. It's a house of cards waiting to fall.
Oh, this one's juicy.
Across the street from these, there's a couple of additional barns, houses, and buildings that we might as well hike to. There's some really lovely trees around this area, and it just looks really nice. A few of these buildings were open, as you see from this video. Whether or not you really should go inside is a debatable question. That, noting the condition of a lot of these buildings, it may totally be possible that 5-10 years from now, it may just be crumbling ruins. The nicer of the buildings over here are probably on a list of buildings that they hope to move or save or restore. But there is like 0 funding to do anything with any of this stuff other than cut the lawn. Most people would probably stop the exploration here, but there is a grassy road down here that I was led into by, of all things, a picture from Flickr to indicate that there was a few more buildings down this grassy road that were definitely worth a visit. The one main house that's out here is not super interesting, but it has a couple of cool details and you can peer inside through the windows. But that might not be the most interesting thing here. This building looks like a good sneeze could probably knock it to the ground. And if I probably would have climbed up this staircase, I probably would have took the building with me.
What do you think?
Do we dare?
I don't think that's a good idea. Floor is the ground, so I think it's safe to walk in here. A ladder. Holy f***ing dangerous. I'm gonna find out what date this is. Oh. December 17th. My mother's birthday. 1979. Alright, I found this room in this farmhouse. It's in this garage. And it's absolutely loaded with 1980s newspapers. There's Christmas toys in here. There's ads for the brand new A3000 Airbus. I said, there's so many things here. Look, here's one. New Jersey real estate, June 8th, 1980. Look at those prices. Look at those prices. Look, only $144,000, 10-year homeowner warranty.
The place was an absolute time capsule, and it was delightful to look at all these newspapers. From here, we're going to drive a short distance down to the next wonderful location to visit, and that's the copper mines.
That is the current parking. That is where the signposts used to be that they put up in 2003. And this brand new parking lot they put up 22 years ago is now a wetlands field. Boy, how things change. It just looks so weird. But that's it. That's how it is.
One of the more interesting historical things in the area is referring to the whole Old Mine Road. Is there's actually 2 copper mines that existed here. There's probably more than that, but there's 2 very notable ones. The history of these mines is actually very interesting. They've had like 2 or 3 different owners, and they've actually never produced any minerals at all. Originally, it's the Paraquari copper mine, and it was one of the oldest mining operations in the eastern United States. And it was first worked by the Dutches in 1650. Mining quality continued, but the person rebuilt this whole area with the point that they were going to do a certain kind of mining technique, but it was found after they already started construction that the mining technique would not produce any valued ore. So the entire place was closed up, and it was eventually sold to the Boy Scouts of America, which then used some of the remnants of the buildings to have a small Boy Scout camp back here. Almost any remnants that remained at that point were leveled during the construction of the Tox Dam. All you see here is foundations and long since multiple times over closed up mine openings. To me, the area is also more interesting because my father brought me here on a vacation in like 2003, because he was back here in like I want to say the 80s when he camped out of the Delaware. Back when we visited in 2003, it was a pretty basic gate on the mine. The upper one was pretty much totally collapsed. You could probably sneak under it. But they have since like built permanent closures on this to make a bat habitat. What's going to be interesting is what we're about to walk up to here is that someone cut into the steel of the mine gate, and it looks like it was then welded back together. Probably vandalism, but I guess we'll never know. But I find this interesting. Here's a really weird video from inside the mine facing out. It's a little unusual angle here, as if you're inside of it. If you head right here instead of left, you'll lead up to kind of where the buildings were. A lot of this stuff here is very overgrown now, and it's hard to come and see. And it gets worse and worse every year, but there were some foundations from like the mill building and some other buildings. Noticeable, but not quite identifiable. And also the upper attic, which is a lot less impressive than the small one. It's almost unrecognizable these days. It almost resembles a culvert. But it's a fun little hike because there's a little bridge up here too that you can walk across.
I mean, it's solid, but it certainly ain't straight anymore.
At this point, my legs and feet were shot, so it was time to head back to the site and try to set up a place for us to relax and rest our feet and get some rest. So this is my site. It's really nice. But there's one little problem. See, I brought a hammock to sleep in. And there's a severe lack of trees. So I guess we're going to go with plan B, and that's put a tent up and pretend that we're tenting people. morning. It's day 2. One of the things that I would like to do on this trip is drive to the two ravines and to visit Buttermilk Falls. It's a significant drive away down a very long road which has many detours, including Flatbrook Road that's wiped out by an avalanche, and there's a number of bridges that are closed. I found this bridge that led through this wildlife management area. On the map, it showed that it would lead me to where I need to go. And in its defense, it sort of does. Until about here. Now, this is where I realized I might have bit off a lot more than I can chew. And this was just like a wash. So I had to turn around here, which was a disappointment. But that wasn't the only disappointment we would have. So here is where my desperation chooses to yet again follow another road, off-road over here. I hesitated a little bit, but I verified it was where I should go. And this road doesn't look too bad. At a glance here, it looks okay. And then it kind of goes south. Caught me off guard, though, is that the road appeared to be flooded. Not too bad, but I got out to assess the situation. I'd walk up further, and I'd find out that while it's probably clear enough ahead to walk past the flood, the road gets in much worse shape and is unnavigable up ahead. Road that's flooded. I can't go forward. There's not enough room for me to reverse to go backwards. After what I'd probably describe as a relatively panicky 10 minutes of backing up and going forward, and then realizing I couldn't turn around, and then backing up, trying to go down the road that I knew I didn't have enough ground clearance to back up to, I somehow, by a miracle, managed to find this little tiny thing that I could back up on enough to turn around here, and then it would not be a place to break down in. It would be extremely expensive, and you probably didn't even get serviced. You wouldn't even be able to get towed out of here. So after I got out of this mess, I drove out of the one-lane bridge and back to the main road here, and realized that I'd have no choice but this road actually passes by Peter's Craft Village, which is kind of a novelty here. It turned out, as was true, the only way into this Buttermilk Falls and ravine area is actually through one of the roads in the Stokes Park. Here we are. We're at the Tillman's Trail entrance. I actually left Worthington at 9 o'clock, like 9:15 to get here. And I knew the road was closed, but then I thought I could take a little game road, and that was a disaster. And then I almost gave myself a heart attack by getting trapped somewhere on a closed road. So we're here now. The Tillman's Trail is actually a pretty popular place to hike out. There's a bunch of ravines and waterfalls, small waterfalls and ravines, and a beautiful forest here with a river surrounding it. There was only very few people here today. This is a weekday, and the water was not particularly wild or anything, but it was a nice quiet walk. So there were a couple of good views, but nothing crazy spectacular. But definitely worth a walk, and just to see some scenery and relax. The water is impressively nice. We're walking now from the upper ravine all the way. I decided to walk all the way to Walpack Cemetery because, well, there's a trail that goes here, and we're about, I think, 2/3 of the way there. Look at this awesome garbage can. It's even got garbage in it. This is made of iron. Anyway, here's the Walpack Cemetery. It's not very big, but I'm not too interested in walking cemeteries. This tree down is very interesting to me. And that's grabbing my attention. So now we leave Tillman Cemetery and we're going to drive down the road to Buttermilk Falls. Now, this is a beautiful spot. This road and everything, this mountain road. I have tried to get to Buttermilk Falls once on every single trip that I have come down here for, and I have never been successful for various road closures and detours. Unfortunately, this would yet again become one of those cases. Somehow, by my dumb luck, I picked the one day that they're resurfacing the road, and it's closed, and they have all their equipment at the falls. I was literally had to turn around here, sneak past this dump truck, and drive all the way back down the road in fucking disappointment. And then we get to do the detour in reverse a second time. During this detour, let's stop at the Flatbrook Village and see why we need to take a detour. Here's another one of the many completely non-usable bridges that we have featured here. So here's your bridge. Where it was hit by a car or something. And somehow it was compromised. It's sad because this bridge is like the main access point to Buttermilk. From here, the next stop along our way was to go visit a special place to my father, which is Hannies Mill. It's not that far away, but it's on that another detoured road that's closed by, well, you'll see the avalanche. And we're going to have to drive quite a bit out of the way, and I'm not even sure where to stop to see it. I actually drove completely past this location, which ended up being a blessing because when I got to the end of the road, I was able to pay a lot more of attention to why the road was closed, which actually is way more interesting than you probably think. This wall to our left was meant to stop a huge avalanche from happening. This wall here is rebarred into the ground. This mesh goes all the way up. There's steel columns that have been glued into the mountainside and reinforced with heavy 3/4 inch steel cable. I said, and now we see the cause. It's actually not that serious, but I'm pretty sure they didn't want to deal with it a second time. This is actually new, by the way. This wall was built between 2023 or 2022 and now. See, what happened here is they had a huge landslide because of the sandy soil of this wall. I said it came down here and this enormous mound of earth fell into the road. This is huge. Now, this wouldn't have killed anybody even if they were here. I said, but unfortunately, when it came down, it pretty severely damaged the barrier to the point where it's pretty much, I mean, it did its job, but it's pretty much compromised. The other half of this barrier is underneath this giant thing of dirt that came down the hill. This already has trees growing in it. It's been a hot minute. Got some ivy on this side. And again, you could even see where the wall is actually doing its job over here, holding back the debris from falling. But maybe more will come down. Who knows, right? Looks like there's a lot of instabilities over on this side as well. Where this big rock came down, rolled off of this cliff here. See, the net was able to catch that, no problem. It's probably only designed for a certain amount of load. And then, yeah, they basically just had to close the whole rest. If we walk this far, we might as well talk about the replacement Flatbrook Bridge. This was replaced quite a while ago because the original metal bridge was completely defunct and rusted out from the... It's just a cool little spot, but over here as well, the road is getting pretty eroded. The bridge itself, the replacement bridge, will last forever here. It's a concrete precast bridge, but the roads nearby are kind of getting a little eroded. It's still a very cool, pristine place to come and visit and look around at, though. But it's also pretty cool to look at the old bridge. They left it in place because it made more sense to do so, and they just kind of barricaded it off. It's a historic bridge. Anyway, after some backtracking, we were able to get back to the Walpack management area, which is where the mill is located. This video might look a little odd. It was shot at 2 different times of the day, one early and one midday. It adds for an eerie ambiance. Hannies Mill is more of a description of an area than an actual building. It's located near or inside of Walpack Township and near Flatbrookville, and there was a grist mill here in 1860, and by about 1950 it was in really bad condition and had been torn down since then. There was a barn nearby. I couldn't see exactly where it was on the ground, and a couple of movies and promotional films were actually shot here in 1933. And the bridge here alone, this iron bridge, dates all the way back to 1891, and the place itself is kind of weird because this bridge is in not really drivable service condition, so it becomes a walking bridge. And the area is also interesting because we were here probably like 20 years ago on a family vacation, and it's just kind of an interesting little spot. There's some concrete foundations you can walk on out here where the dam and mill gates were. It's kind of interesting. This on this side is just like a lake and some boulders. So the only thing we have here is this foundation, which I assume is the footprint of the mill. Then if you go over there, on the way back, I stopped at a building I saw on Old Mine Road, which is the Night House. It was built in 1800s, and it was lived in by Haiti and John. And they operated this farm for 100 years, from 1872 until 1965, and then it was sold. There's just a little building here. There isn't much to see. It looks like they had doing something to keep the building from falling down. I love the peeling paint on the side, and the information otherwise is completely sparse. From here we drive to another well-known location in the area, the Delaware View House. This location is kind of interesting because it was a house and then it was leased to be a general store, and then the person running the store somebody got hurt and they took the land back. But time and vandalism has not been on its side. There's no real funding to keep any of these buildings up, so this building is just, honestly, probably just going to get knocked down. Every window, every door is broken into, boarded, there's flood damage in the building. While some of this is obviously age and decay, others of this stuff is just literally pure, reckless, stupid vandalism shit, like knocking out all of the banisters on this railing, stuff like that, just stupid shit. I decided it was early in the day, and I was going to drive to one of my locations I found a few trips back. This is a section of the Appalachian Trail. We'll call it Beaver Pond Outlook. I first visited this place in 2019 when I was up here. My goal then was to just try to reach the outlook, as it overlooks Camp Nobi Bosco, which I stayed at as a kid. This place is really like a hidden gem. There is the most beautiful lake here, and the hike isn't even bad. It's pretty rewarding. One of the reasons I decided to revisit was because I wanted to get some more detailed information, because I'm actually trying to build the outlook part of this trail in Minecraft. I would definitely have to say though that this was probably one of my favorite stops the whole trip, even though it's maybe a total of maybe an hour or 90 minutes here.
I'm not gonna freaking.
From here, yet again, there was still a little bit of time before the sun went down, and I figured I could stop at the main village that's here and take a walk around, see the old buildings. I have visited before, but it's always good to see what's different and maybe things you don't notice in the previous times. I took time to see more structures and buildings than I did last time, and pay more attention to some of the details because I actually had time to do so. For instance, I made the observation that some of these buildings have actually been relocated because, for instance, the sawmill makes no sense because it's not on a river where any water can get to it. This time when I visited the small sawmill area, I found that all the metal blades and saw blade stuff had been removed from the site since I last visited. I don't know if it's being restored or if it was pillaged, but it's unfortunate that it's missing because it makes the site less interpretable.
Continuing across, we see the church. Last time I was here, they were putting new slate shingles on the roof. One of the things that caught my interest here is the ginormous glass windows. These are all handmade windows with small panes of glass and all this molding and trim. Well, I'm sure there was one or two things on this side that caught my interest, like this nice little building over here on the left with the wood. There wasn't too many things that really grabbed my attention. A quick look around here, there's a barn with some old carriages near it, and a chicken coop that's full of like wood carving supplies and stuff. But there wasn't too much more to see. I've seen a lot already in the past, so yeah, there's only so many things you can take a really close look at and be interested in. So it's like, it looks really big, but it's really not that big, and once you walked it once or twice, it's not super as impressive as it might be from a glance. There's a location just a short drive down from the village that is referred to as Watergate. I tried to stop here a few years ago, but in 2019 you actually had to pay to visit this location. However, changes to the site have made it less of an attraction, so they no longer charge. But now they have filled in the lake, returned it back to a wetland, and rerouted the stream a little bit.
So, while this place actually looks pretty cool, it's basically like a abandoned area. There's a totally unusable large building that was the bathrooms that feels very displaced. There's ramps and stairways that go to kind of nothing. There's picnic tables that are like to a view of nothing. I just find it kind of interesting. It's amazing because, you know, things change so much. And who would have ever thought that this area that was well enjoyed would become a field? I just got in. It is 8:21. I did so much stuff today. I'm physically and mentally exhausted. I'm gonna cook Cheetos, boldy and cheesy. I'm gonna cook it in the gas stove. The s'mores pie. I might warm it up in a cooler oil and eat it with a fork. You know, what other things should you eat when you're camping except maybe s'mores and in pie form? Holy bejesus. I forgot how fierce this was. It does not balance. Cooking macaroni. I'm gonna get this water boiling. Alright, good news. Food's done. Malt is done. I was going over my game plan. What I accomplished. So, everything that I was supposed to do in the first day got done. Including things that were supposed to get done Monday. Which is impressive. It's 8:51. I've technically been up since like 6. I just didn't want to get out of bed. And I was super tired. I slept pretty much the whole night from like midnight until like 5 a.m. I'm packing up here and getting ready for the probably to try to hike up to the fire tower, or at least see if I can see the fire tower. I cooked up some Spam, so that's kind of cool. It always does Alright, I'm heading down the fire road, the unmarked AT fire road. It's supposed to lead up to the tower. A lot of cars out here. It's probably pretty busy. I had some Spam for breakfast, so my stomach feels like death.
All right, I'm coming back from Catfish. There was like people in the tower doing like important tower business. I guess we'll pretend to call it. So, and there was a sign that basically said, don't climb the tower without asking permission. And since I didn't want to interrupt the guy doing important radio business, I didn't bother to climb it. I got anxiety about talking to people, so I didn't climb it. I got a couple quick pictures though, which is worth it, I guess.
There's many possibly less frequented roads in this area, stuff that you might just completely ignore. One of these roads leads up to Blue Mountain Lakes area. I would have completely passed this by had I not just taken a side short. I could see on my handheld GPS that these trails led up to a small lake. I was interested in checking it out. It seemed like it was only a short distance. This is in fact one of the most nicest spots I think I found all day if you just want to be nice and relaxed and up in like beautiful water. The day I was out here there was a bunch of people in here hanging out with their dogs and stuff in the water, but you got a wonderful rocky, grassy, clear lake here. This video doesn't do it justice. But is very nice to walk here. It's clean, rocky, quiet, and just really, it was just really nice. After hanging out here for about an hour, I continued down further the road to explore more things. The GPS showed a few more lakes, and I wanted to go hike out to see them. Exploration out here typically leads to reward, and my reward for up here would be to find another lovely lake of which has this amazing view. At this point, it's about 5 o'clock. It's going to be dark in an hour or two. I decided to head back and just relax for the rest of the day. I decided to head over to the boat launch and hang out there and enjoy the scenery before I head back to the site for the night to wrap everything up. The water was absolutely beautiful, and it made me look highly forward to tomorrow's kayaking activities. However, there was an ominous wind. Alright, so this is kind of funny. There's that going on. I don't know what that's about, but I'm not really thrilled with that. I said, but here we have something that I actually hate. My first ever camping trip, I got spaghetti and meatballs, and I thought it was terrible. And it is terrible. But maybe it's not terrible when you add your leftover luncheon meat for breakfast in it, Baldock Double Hot, spicy, original flavored hot sauce, and Cheetos to it. Now, it's a crack meal, and it's something I can actually eat comfortably.
And we're experiencing rain. Covered over the tent for now with the fly. Hopefully that's usually kind of enough. Not really, but for this kind of rain it's fine. There's really nothing in it anyway. Trying to write, I made some of that stew shit. It's gonna get worse. This just seems like episode 2. Like season 2 of camping in the rain. Probably isn't particularly obvious in the video, but I made the decision to pack up the site tonight with the hopes that I would be able to get out early and make the best of tomorrow on the water. Everything was packed away wet, which is not quite the way you should do it. And also the tent had already gotten water inside it. I hate this tent, but I use it because it's the one I bring every time. And basically it was useless. So I created some different sleeping arrangements for tonight. You'll see those in the early morning part of this video very soon. All right. I packed everything on the site up. It's just about 10 o'clock. We have kind of a new site here with picnic table and, well, there's already fog in the distance. The plan tomorrow, though, is to hopefully get everything jammed into the truck, like, I don't know, 9 o'clock or something, and just take the boat off of the truck, shove it in the ramp, and go in a circle in the lake. Maybe try my best to take a picture of, like, the camp, something in the river, anything for, like, 20 minutes. And then probably come right back to the landing again. Start a small fire just to warm up. Not all that cold, but it wouldn't be a bad idea, put it that way. Macaroni and meatballs. The water out here was absolutely gorgeous. It was calm as anything. My only thing I would say is I wasn't able to go that far because the current was trying to pull me back towards where I launched from. So I wasn't able to go as far down the river as I hoped, which would probably be for the better since there's a storm approaching within the hour or so anyway. And there were actually many people, groups of people out here on the river with tubes and kayaks and rowboats
all absolutely enjoying this busy summer day. After hanging out for about an hour, it's time to wrap up, come ashore, change all my soaking wet clothes, dry off, pack the boat up, and start to head back home.
Rotting driftwood on the foreign shores, spilling out into the ocean floor, and the memories all you've left without a trace. Paralyzed with the thoughts receding, current sweeps you with the silent bleeding through the heart into the darkest place. Well, turn around, there's nothing to see here. Run away, no reason to be here. It's the ghost who never goes away. That you're holding, all the memories you hide, all the frail thoughts that echo in the corners of your mind. They won't even last a moment, they will soon be swept away when the ocean takes you in its arms and carries you away. You carry all your burdens on the cross around your neck. You take whatever's left that you could salvage from the wreck, and the hard past will follow you like a lost dog on the beach, nipping at your trail till you've drifted out of reach. Yeah, turn around, there's nothing to see here. Run away, no reason to be here. It's the ghost who never goes away. Castles made of sand. You tried to hold it in your hands. You tried to understand it. But the ocean asks the questions, and it holds the answers too. It dissolves away the lies about the things you thought you knew.